Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Evidence. Murder is an art.
Directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi, starring Stephen Moyer, Stacey, Torrey DeVitto, Radha Mitchell, and Svetlana Metkina. This movie's about detectives who have uncovered some found footage from various cameras on the scene of a massacre in which several artists, from musicians and actresses to dancers and magicians, who were on a bus which got derailed, picking up their last passenger. It looks to be a work of a psycho killer who wears a blowtorch mask. This is actually a recommendation from our monthly movie raffle winner, Cool Fire Newt, who has been a longtime supporter of the channel. And it's kind of funny because we also had Deke, I think, recommended Evidence 2012. This is Evidence 2013. So 2 people from Patreon have recommended a movie called Evidence so far. But this one has Bill from True Blood. So what do we like?
I really liked the found footage aspect of this movie because it's a crime scene and you're going into this expecting it to be like detectives trying to piece together a crime. The film is more of a found footage, and usually in found footages, there's a lot to complain about. But in this one, it worked.
The primary thing that we complain about is generally some of the editing, but the editing in this movie was immaculate. I absolutely loved the editing style. Every glitch that usually we would complain about in other movies, they actually used what actual glitches look like on corrupt files. It's data moshing and it's, you know, the colors are warping, the sound's getting all jacked up, all transitions are like hard cuts, and if it's transitioning from the found footage to the detectives deciphering what this footage is all about, it'll like pan out into the office and you don't miss a beat or a frame, and it's so good.
And what's really nice about the found footage aspect is this film builds tension very well because you don't know exactly what is going on or when things are going to happen. We're just following our cast as the one character is making a documentary of everything that's happening. And as we're seeing it from her perspective, there's a lot of tension being built up with not knowing your surroundings.
The detectives kind of are jumping between different SD cards or different phones and cameras. Having these 3 different viewpoints also helps with the flow of the movie because you'll get one person's aspect and then, you know, cut to the detectives thinking about something and they're like, hey, switch to that camera, let's see what they were doing at this point. And then you kind of like piece things together, and they're really good at making you think something has happened, but maybe in actuality, a different camera shows a different picture.
And that's what's really fun about this film is it nails the whodunit aspect because you get to try and guess who you think the welding killer is. You don't know if the person is just some random person who owns this scrapyard, or is it one of our characters? Nothing is really established until the end, so the film does a great job in its storytelling by not giving away who the killer is right off the bat.
Which makes the detective story also really interesting because you're trying to think like them because they're doing the exact same thing as us. So you feel like a detective. This is very similar to like a CSI or an NCIS style of movie. I mean, obviously there's more of the found footage aspect, but when we're with the detectives, they use the same kind of terminology. There's similar camera work where they have a camera panning around a group while they're thinking about certain things. So if you're a fan of that kind of show, like crime show, then you'd probably enjoy this. I also thought that the intro was pretty cool because it kind of sets the stage. You see what the crime scene is right at the beginning of the movie. It's kind of flying through 3D space and you're going through smoke and you're getting hints at what you can expect through the movie without giving too much away.
Which also adds to like the guessing aspect because you'll see specific items or clothing or jewelry, and then when you see it later on in the film, it really just draws your attention to it.
I thought it was cool to see Stephen Moyer in like a normal role, not trying to seduce people and be weird like he is in friggin' True Blood.
I keep expecting him to come through the door and say,
"Suck it." I don't know that I've actually ever seen him or noticed that it was Bill Compton in any other movie. I'm sure we've reviewed movies with him in it, but I think this is the only one that I really noticed it. Now, what didn't we like?
I actually was not a fan of the spinning around the detective room shots.
I thought it was so cool.
You know what?
It's cheesy, I think.
It's cheesy and it's great for TV, especially like a crime show. But this is a movie, so you would come to expect more of a higher quality Especially at the end there, when they're doing it nonstop. They're like, oh, we've solved the crime. And you do like 15 laps around the characters. It's a little much.
I can understand why you wouldn't like it. I liked it for exactly that reason. It made me feel like I was watching Law and Order or something. A couple of the issues that I have are just ones that are gonna come up when you're watching found footage movies, and I will restate it every time, because this is a new movie. You probably haven't seen all my other complaints. I don't really like shaky cam, not a huge fan. Don't really like super, super dark movies where you can't see what the hell's happening. Most of this movie you can kind of understand, but there are a lot of scenes where it's like the camera's moving around. You kind of have a concept of how a character might have, like, maybe they fell or rolled or something, but you don't know 100%, and I don't really like that aspect, just of found footage movies in general. There's also a few sections in this movie where characters kind of go missing, and it just seems convenient. I understand that they're trying to, like, have a red herring effect, and they're trying to make you think maybe those people might be the killer, but, like, the footage doesn't quite add up, and it's kind of weird because you'll just see, like, okay, we need to have a conversation between these two characters, so everybody else just go and do your own thing, and you might never see footage about that, like where they went. Like that might not ever show up, but they try and isolate certain characters just to have like one-off conversations or little interactions without having anyone else involved. And it's not always just to do with trying to make the audience think these other people are killers. It's more just for the convenience so there's not too many people talking at once. And I think that was kind of strange, but I mean, it's gonna happen when it's a movie with a small cast and 1 or 2 cameras. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. This was a pretty fun movie in the way that it was stitched together. I really liked the different aspects of mixing the found footage with the detective work and how smooth the transitions were. The editing in this movie was absolutely awesome, and we finally have glitches that I'm proud of. However, there are a lot of downfalls for me, as I just genuinely do not like found footage movies. I find when it is the found footage camera work, it's too jarring or I can't see it properly. I just never feel that it's the best way to convey a story. Even though I kind of understand why they used it, and it was a unique way of using found footage, it's still not for me. I thought our actors were pretty solid across the board, but at the end of the day, I think this movie's just kind of mediocre to me. If you happen to come across it, for sure, check it out, especially if you're a fan of crime TV shows, but it's not something that I would recommend rushing out to get. So I'm gonna give this 2.5 bus drivers telling it how it is out of 5.
What's with the camera?
I'm a director.
You've been paid to direct anything?
No, not yet, but you know, sure enough.
You a girl with a camera.
I was really impressed with the found footage aspect of this movie because they did a really good job telling the story. It was smooth transitioning between the found footage and the detectives trying to solve the crime. They did a great job establishing different red herrings, and it had me guessing who was the masked killer. I also felt that because it was found footage, we did have more tense moments and there were some genuine jump scares. But because of that, when it went to the crime style of cinema with the camera spinning around everyone, I felt it was really cheesy and out of place. But it doesn't take away from the story. The acting was great, the characters are great, and the idea of this mystery is very well executed. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 4 jaw-dropping magic tricks out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if you want the opportunity to recommend a movie for us to review, check out the links to our Patreon, also in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.